Yep.
Okay, we are ready to get started with Coach Mason, and as the previous coaches, he will give an opening statement, and then we will take your questions.
I'm glad to be back. Glad to see you. It's been a long road since where we were a year ago. I believe Vanderbilt had a little bit of a disappointing season, but that's a comma, not a period. This football team is definitely moving forward in terms of how we see ourselves and what we're doing. I believe that our culture, our structure, what we are as a football team is definitely about achievement, success, and what it takes to be competitive in this conference. And with the hiring of 4 new coaches and those changes that I talked about, this football team is definitely on the road to being exactly where we want to be. When I look at those changes, one being Andy Ludwig, our offensive coordinator, who I think is one of the best offensive coordinators in the country. I look at James Dobson, our strength and conditioning coach, who I'm extremely excited about. James, has a tremendous track record, and if you look at what he did in Nebraska, seven consecutive bowl appearances, our football team has changed. Our physique has changed. We look like a different team. I felt like a year ago that we struggled at times to be physical, or in the type of football team that I saw us being, and James has been able to change that perception, at least in our kids' minds, and now we got to get to the football field to prove exactly that. In the end, as I look at our team culture, we've been able to look at instating an internship program. We had 40 student athletes participate in the Nashville area in an internship program. That internship program is about practical experience, and we all know in this day and age, when you talk about football players, the opportunity for future success beyond the sport that they play is important. It's paramount. And so I'm excited about what Vanderbilt's doing on the West End, and it's a move in the right direction. When I look at this football team overall, to have 2 guys study abroad, one being Ralph Webb and the other being Chris Martin. Those guys had a chance to study abroad in Australia. I don't know how many football players in this day and age have a chance to study abroad. They both went to Australia, had a chance to get to the Gold Coast for about 14 days, and it really made a difference in these guys in terms of how they see themselves, but really and what this football team looks like. It's well-rounded. We're more mature, we're more focused, and you ask probably in your mind, okay, well, how does that translate to the football field? Well, here's what I'll tell you. Academically, but we've had probably the best year in Vanderbilt history in terms of football, in terms of what that academic component looks like. Our student athletes are above 3.0 football team wise, and I'm excited about that because here's what I know, and I've been around it before. When you can minimize the academic stress, you can maximize the athletic performance. And that's something that's not a myth. It's true. So if this move, if this transition, if this wave that we're experiencing moves us in the right direction, then I'm excited about the 2015 season. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Hey, Coach. Joe Dubin, Channel 4, Nashville. You can see again. This is your 10th room out of 12. What's the message you're getting out? You want to get out SEC Media Days. When you hit these rooms, what's the message you're trying to sell down here?
Hey, compete. When I look at our football team, I believe, and it starts with the coach. My personality, who I am, what it is, didn't always show itself. And we weren't as competitive as we needed to be in 2014. But here's what I do know. There's not a day that's gone by since we played that Tennessee game that it hasn't been about, competing in every venue. Classroom, football field, eating, weight room. We're about whatever it takes to be competitive. So we compete at everything now, and I believe that's changed the mindset and the culture of what this football team sees in itself and where we need to go.
Hey, Coach. Dave Foster, Fox 17, WZTV in Nashville. I've heard the players mention the new Vanderbilt,
right.
This message. I assume that is coming a lot from you. What does the new Vanderbilt mean, and how does that translate on the field this year?
They may have mentioned the new Vanderbilt. I believe, what we're doing is, settling into who we are. When you talk about who you are, anytime you have transition, it looks different, it smells different. And when you have 33 freshmen that step on the football field, those lessons are going to be hard learned. So for us, we've been about work. We understand, last year I talked about expectation. I talked about being competitive. I'm never going to back away from that, and I don't apologize. What we have to do now is move towards, the things, the equity that it takes to be a good football team. So what we're about every day is putting some money in the bank. So when, September rolls around, we can start making some withdrawals. So when we talk about being competitive, when we talk about, new mindset, it's just a renewed energy. I think Andy Ludwig, James Dobson, and myself are all on the same page. And I think when you do that, when you create, you can actually create a culture where young people can't find a place to hide. It's a good thing because that puts everybody on the same page. So that's where we're at.
Joe Whalen, WBMA TV in Birmingham. Coach, there's always pressure to win each season in this conference.
Right.
After last season, do you feel any more heading into this season?
Been in college football or coaching for 22 years. So here's what I know. The landscape is always competitive. I learned something in the NFL. You always coach on a one-year deal. And that's not in terms of, what my contract structure is. That's just my mindset. 2014 has nothing to do with 2015. So in how you prepare and what you do, you look at best practices, you look at where you've been and what it takes to move you forward, and that's how you work. And so that's where we are right now. We're in a progressive mind state. And this football team is going to continue to make sure that it makes its mark. But sometimes being at the tail end or on the bottom of what people perceive to be one of the best conferences in college football is a good place to be, especially for a young team that knows that they have to earn everything that they get to find a way to get to the top. So I'm excited about it.
Right.
Dan Phillips, WZTV.
What's up, Dan?
Derek, hey buddy, what is the biggest thing that you've learned in the last year?
The biggest thing that I've learned is don't make assumptions. As a first-year head coach, there were a lot of things happening for me. It went really fast, from hiring to recruiting to first spring. And, I missed some things in there. I missed the ability to recognize what our team is. And instead, I just said, okay, well, we're in the SEC, we're going to compete. And it's not that way. When you're a young football team, these kids need a direction, they need a confidence, and they need a leadership. And, I thought at times I missed on that. And that's okay. That's not, there's no shame in that. The shame is to be repetitive. So, for me, it's not repetitive. I've moved in a direction where, this is my ship. And everybody that's getting on board has got to get a ticket and get a stamp. And, I'm stamping tickets. I'm making sure that these guys understand that we're going to bite bullets, we're going to screw rivets, and we're going to be about the work. So, right now, that's what this football team's about. It's about getting the job done. And it's not about the talk, it's about the action. So you probably heard from these guys that it's more about the work. And the culture that's been created is phenomenal. Top to bottom. I'm confident right now, more confident than I was a year ago, just based on the simple fact everybody's on one accord. It's harmonious, and that's a good place to be.
Coach Michael Spencer from WAT TV in Knoxville. You made a point last year to refer to Tennessee as that team out east. Will you continue to do that this year? And how important is it for Vanderbilt to continue that rivalry with Tennessee and at least be competitive with that team out east?
You know what? I believe Tennessee is that team out east, and they're a good football team. It's a good program. Butch is a great coach. But in terms of being competitive, we both thrive in a state where, those southern ties run deep. You either have a Vanderbilt connection or a Tennessee connection. So for us, it's the Hatfields and the McCoys, and we like it that way. But here's what I do know. We both represent the state of Tennessee. We're going to do that well. And we're both working towards the common goal of educating young men and playing at a high level. So with that being the case, there's a time and a place. And that's always one game a year when it comes to football. And we'll make sure that when we show up, there's going to be some sparks flying. So I look forward to seeing that game and how it transpires this year. So it's good to see you.
Hey, Coach. Nicole Noren, ESPN. What are your thoughts on the new SEC transfer rule? That rule where punished for serious misconduct, an athlete can't go to another SEC school. Mm-hmm. And also, just what are your thoughts about, in general, about giving athletes a second chance?
Here's what I was told a long time ago in terms of, second chances or opportunities, and I'll start there, and then I'll circle back around. Football's a privilege, not a right. So I think, with that, there's some responsibility. as a person, to, act with, some character, some integrity, and have morals. It's a game that we all love. It's a game that young men play, and it provides opportunities to receive an education. So with that being, in the case, let's hold these young men accountable for exactly what it should be, a privilege. And then when we talk about the ruling itself, and that's not sitting on a high horse, that's just loving the game, and I love the game. But when you talk about the rule itself, we have rules in place, for a reason. I believe that transfer rule that deals with conduct is the right thing to do. As long as a young man is doing the right things and is looking for an opportunity to play and is graduated and has done what he needs to do, I think it's great that he can transfer. When you talk about conduct, that's a different story. And that's always pushed through a court of public law or a group of a teammates' peers, or the institution itself. So with that being the case, I believe that the SEC got it right. Again, it goes back to it being a privilege. So let's keep it that way. And I think if we do that, we clean up our sport, we clean up our game.
Coach Lee Howard, WKYT, in a conference that it's hard to come by any wins, what gives you the most confidence that Vanderbilt will be a better, more improved team this next season?
Well, the confidence comes in knowing that we're a year older and a year better. But more than that, there's tangible evidence. When you look at Arkansas and where they were, in a year ago, no conference wins, and you look at where they were able to, move their program towards. It happens. Again, 2014's got nothing to do with 2015. We're a different football team. We understand that it's never easy, but what you have to do is earn the right between the white lines to be a good football team, and we're just trying to go 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time. So if we can do that, I think we'll like the fruits of what a season looks like with the right culture, right mentality, and the right mindset.
Right back here.
Gary Mathangani with WEAC. You mentioned Arkansas just a bit ago. Auburn did something similar, went from an 0-8 record to 13 seconds away from national championship. TCU, something similar. Do you look to other teams for maybe a guideline for that it's capable, or you just kind of do your own thing?
I'll tell you what you do. What you do is point out, to your football team that, it's been done. It's not new territory, so let's not reinvent the wheel. What we need to do and understand is what it took to get there. People talk about the journey, but you know what? You gotta be about the work that allows you an opportunity to have some gas in the tank. And so we're about filling up the tank right now, and I believe our guys understand the message. They get it, but more so when they see it in themselves, they feel just as I do. As disappointing as it was, we have a chance now to make amends. So let's be about the work, and let's relish the opportunity.
Coach, you're taking over the defense this year. What happens in a game when there's a fourth down situation, the offense needs to go for it? How are you going to balance that? And is it a fine balance?
Well, Joe, when I look at where we're at, right now, it was important that I streamline the message in terms of what our defensive philosophy is. And talking through somebody I didn't feel comfortable talking through somebody to get that done. I interview guys, I talk to people, and here's what you find out. The message always gets lost in translation. So with me, I sort of cut my teeth as a defensive coach. That's what I know. And I believe in being able to get the message clearly across to our guys, and that's been exactly what the work's been about. When I look at our team itself, if you look at where we went from the Tennessee game to spring ball, it's aggressive now. Those guys are hunting. We did a good job of only putting 4 defenses in. You know why? It's all about making sure that these guys learn how to play fast. And so with that, they got back the courage and confidence that they need to play. When you talk about structure, we've been able to change the structure of this football team a little bit in terms of how we practice. We practice in the morning. I'm able to be defensive coordinator from 5:45 in the morning to about 10:30. Okay, and then I go into the film room, watch film with our staff, and then around noontime, I change into a costume, which is a polo and some slacks, and I become head coach. And so from about 1 to 5, I'm able to tackle my head coaching duties. And again, it's about compartmentalizing and finding best practices. And I believe in what we did academically and what we were able to accomplish this spring puts us on the right track. So I'm confident.
Any more questions? Last one right here.
Coach, the time commitment that you just laid out sounds good,
yeah.
But I can feel your enthusiasm, I can feel your vigor. When you get down to it and your guys not performing well, you're going to end up spending more time with the defense, making sure they are the foundation more so than maybe special teams or making sure the offense is on cue?
You know what? It's funny that you asked that because everybody thought that it'd be the same, this spring. But here's what I found. If we can be more efficient, with our time, because I think in this day and age where you have more technology and more information, what you do is information overload your kids. And, it's got to be about playing the game. Okay, and it's got to be about tailor-made schemes for your guys that allow them to play fast, play smart, and still be aggressive, because football is an aggressive game. I found that this spring we gave more time back to our players, and really I had more time, as a head coach to get done the things that used to take me 8 hours. Now I got my timetable down to about 4 hours. So what you start to do is compartmentalize and manage your time and figure out what can be done today versus what needs to be done next week. And I think that's important because your football team is the most important thing that you have once you're in the season. So these guys, again, they came out of spring ball excited. They finished the year excited. Academically, we're good. We're a bigger football team now than we were 12 months ago. So I think all these things have led towards us moving in the right direction. But it's a good question, and we'll see where the stress of the season leads me. We'll talk about it next year.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right, thank you.